Hi, Mumkey Jones here. Well, this is my last video. It all had to come to this. Tomorrow is the day of retribution.
Hey everybody, we've finally reached a day that surely nobody thought would ever come. My final Eliot Rodger video. Now you're probably thinking, but Mumkey, what the fuck are you talking about? The Mumkey Jones channel is nothing without Eliot Rodger videos. They're the only reason I'm subscribed in the first place, you stupid fucking cuck. And I hear you, but let me explain. Over the course of my YouTube career, I've made 16 videos focused on Eliot Rodger, totaling over 13 hours of Eliot Rodger content if you include the 10-hour audiobook. I'm actually surprised that it's only been 16 videos because honestly it feels like a shit ton more. But throughout those 16 videos, I feel as though I've said everything about Eliot Rodger's life that I wanted to say. A lot of people accuse me of milking this tragedy to get YouTube views, and that I'm pulling random topics out of my ass just to produce more content on the subject. But in reality, that's just not true at all. Every single Eliot Rodger video that I've made covers a topic that I genuinely, enthusiastically wanted to discuss. From his original plans for the Day of Retribution, to his father's hilariously bad documentary, to his misadventures trying to win the lottery. But now I've reached the point where I think I've said everything I wanted to say. Until now, I've genuinely wanted to make every single one of those videos, but I've now run out of Eliot Rodger topics that I'm enthusiastic about discussing, and if I kept making more, it definitely would feel like I was milking the situation just because it was popular. So that's why I'm making this video, as one last hurrah in my Eliot Rodger portfolio. I want to take a look back at all the Eliot Rodger videos I've produced and attempt to arrive at one final conclusion about what this all means. The whole point of going in-depth and studying the life and philosophies of a killer like Eliot Rodger is to attempt to answer these questions. Why did this tragedy happen, and what can be done to prevent similar tragedies in the future? These are the two questions I asked and answered in my original Eliot Rodger documentary almost exactly 2 years ago. Today, I would like to take a look back at the answers I provided, my hypotheses, and see if they still hold up today given the previous 2 years of additional information and research. In that video, I came to two major conclusions. One, the bane of Eliot Rodger's existence was his inability to reach the love and belonging tier of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, and two, there is nothing that can be done to prevent all future tragedies because there will always be individuals who feel as though society has betrayed them and
I'm gay.
Vengeance. Do I still agree with both of these statements with all 15 of the other Eliot Rodger videos I've made considered? Well, let's take a look. The most important video to look at will be my leaked emails documentary because it featured new information about the case that nobody had ever seen. Those emails provided new insights to Eliot's complicated relationship with his family, and they will ultimately allow us to uncover whether or not he reached Maslow's love and belonging tier. We know for a fact that Eliot's biggest hang-up was his inability to get a girlfriend. He attempted to win the affection of girls in many ways, from wearing stylish clothing to trying to win the lottery to smirking at them from the seat of his BMW. But he lacked the confidence and social awareness to attempt the most important part of getting a girlfriend: approaching a girl. He spent his life under the impression that girls were supposed to approach him for relationships, and because of that, he felt as though every single woman he encountered who didn't initiate conversation was actively rejecting him. And this terrorized his mind and brought him to self-destructive levels of rage. So from a romantic perspective, Eliot never even came close to achieving the love and belonging tier. But how about from a family perspective? It's irrelevant how much Peter Rodger claims he loved Eliot during his Barbara Walters interview.
You loved Eliot.
I loved Eliot.
The question is, did Eliot Rodger feel loved by his parents? One of the biggest insights from the leaked emails between Eliot Rodger and his parents was what appeared to be Eliot's mother emotionally manipulating him into hating his father. On multiple occasions, Chin Rodger seemed to be stoking the flames of hatred between Eliot and his father, going so far as convincing Eliot to completely disregard his father's existence due to Peter's inability to support Eliot financially. The emails convinced me that Peter and Sumaya were better people than I originally thought, and that they definitely cared for Eliot far more than he knew. But that's the point. It doesn't matter how much they actually loved and cared about him, because from his perspective, thanks to the fanning of the flames by his mother and his own sense of narcissism, Eliot was under the impression that his father and stepmother were antagonists in his life. As far as the love of his mother goes, I think it's obvious that Eliot's mother loved him, and I think he felt her love, but ultimately I think he took it for granted. After a lifetime of coddling and never being told no by his mother, I don't think Eliot recognized his mother's love as being anything special, so it probably wasn't enough to help him reach the state of love and belonging as described in Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Now you might be asking, so what? Tons of people out there don't feel loved and don't feel like they belong, and they don't go on killing sprees like Eliot Rodger did. And that leads me to my second conclusion. There is nothing that can be done that will stop these attacks from happening. While the vast majority of these attacks ultimately boil down to a person feeling as though they aren't loved and as though they don't belong, there are far too many variables involved that lead people to the conclusion that retribution is their only answer. If you think of the Columbine kids, if you think of Randy Stair, if you think of Eliot Rodger, if you think of the Toronto van attack, all of these people committed similar crimes and felt similarly about their perceived ostracism from the rest of society, but their individual motives for committing the crime were all different. The two things they all had in common were hatred for society and a desire to get violent revenge against the people around them. But there are so many different variables for how they each arrived to this conclusion that there's no possible way society will be able to remedy all of them, nor should it be expected to. There will always be people out there who feel actively ostracized and betrayed by society. And due to a number of potential factors including mental illness, poor upbringing, and even Danny Phantom, there will always be people who seek vengeance. It's the way it's been since the dawn of mankind, and I don't see us evolving past it anytime soon. Believe it or not, our society isn't becoming more compassionate and open. If anything, it's getting worse. In fact, I would argue that the recent fear-mongering taking place about incels is going to lead to far more violent attacks against society. At the end of my original Eliot Rodger documentary, I advised for empathy for people who feel as though they relate to Eliot Rodger. I explained that there are people out there who have expressed to me that they relate to Eliot Rodger, but are too afraid to admit it for fear that they'll be perceived as a dangerous threat. And I expressed my belief that this is dangerous because when we are too afraid to discuss our feelings, when we're too afraid to let our mental illnesses out, they take over. And this past year, I've been watching in disgust as society went in the complete opposite direction, and it's all thanks to the fear of incels. After the Toronto van attack, the media and society as a whole have been in a frenzied panic out of fear of incel attacks. The fear-mongering in the wake of this attack implied that incels were rightfully the outcasts of society, because they're dangerous, misogynistic, disgusting people who are going to grab their guns and commit a violent rampage at any second. You even had people like Ellen Pao asking tech companies what they were going to do about the incels under their employment. With all this rhetoric, one would conclude that incels are some sort of domestic terrorist group intent on killing all sexually active people out of hatred and resentment for their lifestyles. But that's not the case. An incel, by definition, is literally just a human being who is involuntarily celibate, which in other words means a person who, for whatever reason, cannot find a partner to have sex with. Incels are people who are unable to find romantic relationships due to, perhaps, their lack of social skills, lack of confidence, lack of hygiene, unattractive physical appearance, or a number of other possibilities. So to imply in a blanket statement that all of these people are dangerous because they fall under the definition of an incel is completely fucking retarded. These are the people who already feel as though they don't belong in society, and now the media is advising society to be on the lookout for them because they're dangerous. I just find it so incredibly counterintuitive and irresponsible. The goal should be to make all people feel comfortable in society, to help all people feel as though they are loved and as though they belong. And instead what we're doing is fear-mongering in order to ostracize these people even more. We're actively telling society's outcasts that we think of them as dangerous killers, and I don't think it's too crazy to suggest that maybe this will lead to more attacks rather than less. If our desire is to stop these types of tragedies from happening altogether, then we've taken a huge step in the completely wrong direction. Do I honestly believe these types of attacks will continue to take place for the rest of human history? Yes. Even if we weren't actively trying to ostracize the ostracized, even if society came together and tried to make everyone feel welcome and loved, even if Donald Trump enacted a new law that all 16-year-old males will receive a government-mandated practice GF, there would still be individuals out there who feel like they're being mistreated and that they need revenge. Eliot Rodger spent so long suffering in the darkness that he convinced himself he wasn't part of the human species, and that in fact, he was better than us. He convinced himself he was a god, and he wanted to prove it by slaughtering us all. No matter how much society attempts to remedy the hearts of the outcasts and the misguided, once somebody convinces himself he's a god, there's nothing we can do, and these false gods will inflict their judgment upon us. And now we come to the argument that people have already tried posting in the comment section of this video. But Mumkey, you dumb fuck! If we just ban all guns, then there won't be any more attacks. Oh yeah? Tell that to the 10 people in Toronto who were killed in the van attack. I get what you're trying to say. There would be less gun violence if there were less guns. But I'm not in the business of reducing gun violence. I'm in the business of reducing retribution, of trying to prevent people from wanting to commit an attack in the first place. You could magically make every gun on Earth disappear, but that wouldn't stop the next Eliot Rodger from wanting and getting vengeance on society. Now, you're probably wondering why the title says probably. Well, the answer to that is pretty simple. I've already said everything I wanted to say about Eliot Rodger up to this point. However, if in the future brand new information comes out that changes the face of the Eliot Rodger case, or if Peter Rodger makes a new movie that I want to review, then I'll likely be making videos about those things. But for the time being, I've made every point I wanted to make, and I've shared every story that I thought was funny or interesting enough to share. It's been a good 2 years making Eliot Rodger videos, and I'm strangely proud of the reputation I've acquired as being that weird Eliot Rodger guy. The story of Eliot Rodger is both tragic and hilarious. It's a cautionary tale of how even somebody who on the surface appears to have been given every advantage in life can be suffering and brooding with intense fury on the inside. Eliot Rodger's story invites us to both examine ourselves and those around us, while at the same time providing story after story of hilariously sad hijinks. And although people love to point their finger at Eliot and scream "monster," this juxtaposition of suffering, evil, and hilarity only proves that he was human, and that we shouldn't be looking out for the imaginary incel monsters hiding under our beds, but rather we should be looking for the invisible human beings who we refuse to see. And now, the only thing left to do is show Eliot Rodger the love and support he desperately needed by taking him out on a dream date.
I can still recall all the good times that we had. Back in Isla Vista, you were my virgin, I was your Chad. You loved lottery tickets, and I loved your classy style. But I'd give up everything I have for one more of your smiles. But I'll see you again, my dearest friend, my supreme gentleman. Used to drink vanilla Starbucks lattes while strolling through the park, before this sick and twisted world tore us both apart. But I'll see you again, Eliot Rodger, you were my best friend, my supreme gentleman.
Well, Eliot, maybe in another life we could have been friends. But you did kill 6 people and then yourself, so I guess you can be the supreme gentleman of hell. And I'll probably see you there soon after I kill myself. Goodbye, old friend.
How many brothers fell victim to the thoughts? Rest in peace, young nigga, I'ma keep you with my thoughts. Be a lie if I told you that things have gotten better. My nigga, I'm a virgin forever, but I fight on. How many brothers fell victim to the thoughts? Rest in peace, young nigga, I'ma keep you with my thoughts. Be a lie if I told you that things have gotten better. My nigga, I'm a virgin forever, but I fight on. As I walk to my class, thoughts filled a blonde ass, past a Chad with everything that I wish I could've had. I'm an incel, he could never understand me. It's harder every day, even Reddit tried to ban me. But even if this life is meek and all the girls stay weak-minded brutes who will never be unique, I will fight on and wear the mantle that you left me. Carry on your mission like a gentleman, deftly. Don't cry for me, I'm already dead. And if you ain't a virgin, we will never break bread. I'm on a mission to end